Welcome to African Mafia Stories, where loyalty is currency, power has a price, and every city hides a secret. Today's story is based in Sao Tomé and Principe. Enjoy!
The first ship appeared at 2:13 in the morning, black against a blacker sea, moving without lights beneath a sky split by distant lightning. Ana Ribeiro saw it from the upper gallery of the lighthouse while rain hammered the glass behind her. At first, she thought the vessel was only a trick of the storm, a shape assembled from mist, fatigue, and the steady pulse of the Atlantic below. Then lightning flashed again, bleaching the cliffs white for half a second, and the ship emerged fully from the darkness. It was large enough to be a coastal freighter, but it carried no navigation lamps, no deck lights, and no visible identification along its hull. It moved too close to the rocks, gliding past the northern headland with the quiet confidence of a vessel following a route it had traveled many times before. Ana lowered the binoculars and checked the digital console beside her. The radar screen showed nothing. "That is impossible," she whispered. Behind her, the lighthouse lamp rotated with a low mechanical hum, sending its beam across the storm. The old tower had stood on the volcanic cliffs for more than a century, guiding ships around one of Sao Tomé's most dangerous stretches of coast. Ana had been sent to modernize it, not to argue with ghosts. She leaned over the console again. The radar unit was new, installed 3 weeks earlier by a contractor from Lisbon. The calibration logs were clean. The antenna feed showed no interruption. Yet outside, less than 2 kilometers from shore, a vessel moved through the darkness as though the system had been instructed not to see it. Ana reached for the radio. A hand closed over her wrist. She twisted sharply, striking upward with the torch in her other hand, but the man behind her caught that wrist too. "Stop," he said. "Unless you want everyone on that ship to know you saw them." Ana froze. The man released her slowly. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and soaked through, with rainwater running from his hair onto the collar of a faded navy shirt. She had seen him only once before, when she arrived that afternoon with 2 crates of equipment and a letter from the Ministry of Infrastructure. Edan Viana. Lighthouse keeper, maintenance supervisor, and, according to the ministry official who had signed her assignment, an unnecessarily difficult man. Ana stepped away from him. "You entered without knocking. This is a lighthouse in a storm, not a hotel room. You grabbed me. You were about to announce yourself to people who shoot first and ask questions when the tide brings the bodies back." Another flash of lightning illuminated the ship. It had slowed near a narrow inlet below the eastern cliffs. Ana raised the binoculars again. "Who are they?" Edan did not answer. The lighthouse beam swept over the water, passed across the vessel, and continued toward the open sea. For one brief moment, Ana expected the ship to become visible in full detail. Instead, the beam dimmed. Not completely. Just enough. The light weakened as it crossed the inlet, then brightened again once it moved beyond the ship. Ana stared at the rotating lens. "That is not a mechanical fault." "No. The beam has been programmed to reduce intensity over that sector." "Yes." She turned toward him. "You knew." Edan moved to the window and looked down at the coastline. "I knew the light sometimes behaved strangely. I did not know why." "You maintain the system." "I maintain what I am permitted to touch." The words carried more anger than explanation. Ana glanced at the console. A red indicator flashed briefly, then disappeared. Someone had accessed the control system remotely. She pulled a chair toward the terminal and opened the diagnostic panel. Edan caught the back of the chair before she could sit. "Leave it. I was sent here to automate this lighthouse. You were sent here because the last engineer stopped answering his phone." Ana looked at him. The storm seemed to press closer around the tower. "What happened to him?" Edan released the chair. "Officially, he resigned." "And unofficially?" "He disappeared." The freighter had reached the inlet. A smaller boat emerged from behind the rocks and moved toward it, carrying a single covered lantern. The vessel's crew responded with 2 brief flashes from the bridge. Ana watched the signal, then looked at the dimmed lighthouse beam. "They are using the tower to guide them." Edan's jaw tightened. "Not just the tower." He pointed toward the cliff road below. 3 vehicle headlights appeared through the rain, climbing from the forest toward the lighthouse. They moved in a tight line, too fast for the narrow road. Ana checked the time. 2:19 a.m. "Are you expecting visitors?" "No. Police. Police do not drive without blue lights during a storm." Edan crossed the room and opened a metal cabinet beneath the staircase. Inside were spare cables, oil cans, tools, and an old shotgun. Ana stared at it. "That is your emergency procedure?" "My emergency procedure is usually to avoid becoming an emergency." He loaded 2 cartridges, then reached behind the cabinet and pulled out a canvas bag. "Take your laptop. I am not leaving." "Ana." It was the first time he had used her name. She shut down the diagnostic screen but removed the small data drive from the side of the console. Someone accessed the system remotely. The access logs may tell us where from. They will also tell them you looked. A heavy metallic sound echoed from below. The outer gate. Someone had opened it. Eden extinguished the gallery lights. Darkness filled the room except for the rotating beam, which painted the walls in slow white arcs. Voices drifted up from the courtyard. At least 4 men. One of them called Eden's name. The voice was calm, almost friendly. Eden went still. You know him, Anna whispered. Yes. Who is he? The governor's security chief. Anna looked toward the approaching footsteps. Why would the governor's security chief come to a lighthouse at 2 in the morning? Eden lifted the shotgun. Because he knows the ship has arrived. The footsteps entered the lower level of the tower. Anna heard men moving through the maintenance room, opening cupboards, overturning equipment, checking doors. They were not searching for Eden. They were searching for evidence. She slipped the data drive into her pocket. The lighthouse beam passed across the wall again. For a fraction of a second, it illuminated a framed photograph near the staircase. Eden stood beside 3 other men on the cliff road, all wearing government uniforms. One of them was the man whose face Anna had seen that afternoon on banners across the capital. Governor Mateus Barreto. Eden noticed her looking. Before she could speak, a voice called from the staircase. Eden, my friend. Bring the engineer down. Eden moved in front of Anna. The voice continued, warm and patient. We only need to know what she saw. Anna's hand tightened around the data drive. Below them, the door to the spiral staircase began to open. The staircase door burst open with a force that rattled the iron hinges, but the gallery above was already empty. Eden had pulled Anna through a narrow maintenance hatch concealed behind the lighthouse lens itself. It opened onto a cramped service passage that spiraled between the inner and outer walls of the tower, a corridor so narrow they were forced to move sideways through the darkness. Below them, torchlight swept across the gallery. They've gone upstairs, someone shouted. Eden didn't answer. He kept climbing. That doesn't make any sense, Anna whispered. We're already at the top. Not quite. 20 meters higher, the passage ended beneath a rusted metal plate. Eden pushed upward. The hatch groaned open onto the roof of the lighthouse. The Atlantic exploded around them. Rain struck sideways in sheets while gale force winds clawed at their clothes. The lantern room beneath them continued its endless rotation, sending the great beam sweeping over the sea as thunder rolled across the island. Eden pointed toward the cliff behind the lighthouse. A steel cable stretched through the darkness. Anna blinked. You're joking. I've never found storms particularly humorous. The cable disappeared into the rainforest on the opposite cliff face. A maintenance line? Installed during the colonial period. Forgotten by almost everyone. And used by you? When necessary. Another voice echoed from inside the tower. They're on the roof. Eden clipped a harness onto the cable. You first. Anna looked into the black void beneath her. How far? Far enough that falling would become someone else's problem. She laughed despite herself. It was entirely the wrong moment. She clipped onto the cable and pushed away from the lighthouse. The wind seized her immediately. Rain blinded her. The Atlantic roared hundreds of meters below as she slid across the gap toward the forest. Halfway across, lightning illuminated the lighthouse behind her. 3 armed men had reached the roof. One raised his rifle. Eden launched himself onto the cable just as the first shot echoed across the cliffs. The bullet struck the steel line several meters behind him, throwing sparks into the storm. Anna reached the opposite platform and unclipped with trembling hands. Eden landed beside her seconds later. Neither of them stopped running. The rainforest swallowed them within moments. Dawn revealed a different island. The storm had drifted west during the night, leaving behind mist that curled through giant ferns and ancient trees. Birds called from somewhere beyond the canopy while the Atlantic glittered peacefully below, as though nothing violent had happened only hours earlier. Anna sat beneath a broad-leaved tree, examining the data drive she had taken from the lighthouse console. It survived. Eden handed her a bottle of water. So did we. For now. She connected the drive to her rugged field tablet. The files appeared immediately. Access logs. System diagnostics. Software updates. She frowned. This isn't Lighthouse software. What is it? She enlarged one of the directories. Someone has hidden another operating system inside the Lighthouse controls. Eden crouched beside her. What does it do? Anna opened another file. The screen filled with detailed maps of São Tomé's coastline. Not ordinary maps. Bathymetric charts. Depth measurements. Rock formations. Tidal currents. Safe passages through reefs that did not appear on civilian navigation charts. These are military grade. There isn't a military base here. There doesn't need to be. She kept scrolling. Every hidden inlet around the island had been marked. Every isolated cove. Every sheltered anchorage. Each location carried timestamps stretching back almost 8 years. Eden stared silently. This wasn't created for navigation. No. It was created for scheduling. Anna looked up slowly. The ships aren't avoiding the lighthouse. They're following instructions. A twig snapped somewhere deeper in the forest. Both of them froze. Eden silently reached for the pistol tucked beneath his jacket. The undergrowth rustled again. A small boy emerged carrying a basket of bananas almost as large as himself. He couldn't have been older than 10. He looked at Eden. You came back. Eden lowered the pistol. So I did. The boy smiled. My grandmother said you would. He noticed Anna and immediately became shy. She doesn't know you. No. She says strangers only come here when bad things follow them. Anna couldn't argue with the observation. The boy beckoned them. She said if you returned, I should bring you. To where? To the old mission. The abandoned Portuguese mission stood hidden within the rainforest, reclaimed by vines and flowering trees. Time had softened the cracked stone walls until they seemed to belong to the jungle itself. Inside, an elderly woman waited beside a wooden table. She looked first at Eden, then at Anna. I wondered how long it would take. You knew we'd come? I knew they'd hunt you. She poured coffee into 3 chipped mugs. You should drink before we speak. Anna accepted the cup politely. You know what's happening? The old woman nodded. I know enough. She looked directly at Eden. You've been hiding from the wrong people. Silence settled over the room. Finally Eden sighed. I suppose she deserves to know. Yes. He turned toward Anna. My father wasn't the lighthouse keeper. No? He designed the automated navigation system. Anna's eyes widened. The one controlling the beam. Yes. I thought it was installed recently. The upgrades were recent. The original design wasn't. Eden looked toward the mission doorway where sunlight filtered through tangled vines. My father built the system 22 years ago. And? He died before it was commissioned. How? They said his boat overturned. The old woman shook her head. They lied then. Eden continued quietly. I found his notebooks after the funeral. What did they say? He believed someone inside the governor's office wanted the lighthouse to do more than protect ships. Anna slowly placed her coffee on the table. And you never told anyone? I did. What happened? They called me paranoid. The old woman reached beneath the table. She lifted an oilcloth bundle wrapped with faded rope. I've kept this long enough. She placed it before Eden. You'll need it now. He carefully untied the rope. Inside lay a hand-drawn nautical chart. Across its surface ran dozens of penciled routes. Most had been crossed out. One remained circled in red. Anna leaned closer. What is it? The old woman answered before Eden could. The only route that has never appeared on any official map. Eden turned the chart over. A single sentence had been written on the back in neat handwriting. The light does not guide the ships. It guides whoever controls the sea. Outside, the distant thump of helicopter blades drifted over the rainforest. Eden walked to the doorway. A government helicopter was circling the coastline. It wasn't searching the sea. It was searching the forest. And it was flying directly toward the old mission. The helicopter circled once above the mission before banking sharply toward the coast, its blades scattering frightened birds from the rainforest canopy. Eden remained motionless in the doorway until the sound began to fade. It isn't looking for us. Anna frowned. It came directly here. It came here to make sure no one else finds this place. The old woman quietly folded the nautical chart back into its oilcloth wrapping. They've done that for years. Every few weeks they fly over, never landing, simply reminding everyone that some places are best forgotten. Anna looked down at the chart once more. One route. One sentence. Neither felt accidental. She slipped the chart into her waterproof field case beside the data drive. We need to know where that route ends. Eden nodded. I know someone who might. By mid-afternoon they had reached the fishing village of Santa Catarina. Wooden boats rested upside down along the beach while fishermen repaired nets beneath broad almond trees. Children chased each other across the sand, paying no attention to the strangers walking among them. Eden stopped outside a weather-beaten house overlooking the bay. If he's still alive, he'll be here. You don't sound confident. He disappeared 6 years ago. You said that very casually. In São Tomé, disappearing and retiring sometimes look remarkably similar. He knocked once. No answer. Twice. Still nothing. As Eden turned to leave, the door creaked open. An elderly man stood inside wearing faded rubber boots and carrying a lantern despite the afternoon sun. His eyes settled on Eden. I wondered how long it would take. Anna smiled. Does everyone on this island know he's coming before he does? The old man ignored the question. You've brought your father's replacement. Eden looked genuinely surprised. You knew my father? I taught him. The silence that followed seemed to slow the air itself. The old man stepped aside. Come in before curious people begin inventing explanations. The cottage smelled of salt, engine oil, and old paper. Maps covered almost every wall. Some were modern satellite images. Others had been drawn by hand decades earlier. Anna walked slowly around the room. Every chart showed the waters surrounding São Tomé. Every chart contained handwritten corrections. These aren't official. No, the old man replied. They're accurate. He introduced himself simply as Joaquim. I spent 43 years mapping these waters before computers decided they knew the ocean better than fishermen. He spread the oilcloth chart across a large table. His expression changed immediately. I hoped I'd never see this again. You recognize it? Anna asked. I drew it. She looked up sharply. You? Joaquim nodded. For your father. Eden stared at him. My father asked you to create secret navigation routes? No. Joaquim tapped the circled passage. He asked me to help prove someone else already had. The room became very quiet. Joaquim reached for another map hanging on the wall. This one was almost identical, except dozens of colored pins marked different points around the coastline. 24 years ago, he began, fishing boats started reporting strange lights offshore. Lighthouses? Anna asked. No. Ships? No. He pointed toward a deep channel north of the island. The lights stayed perfectly still. For how long? Sometimes hours. Anna felt a slow unease settling over her. Anchored vessels? That was everyone's first assumption. He smiled sadly. Until the lights began moving beneath the water. An hour later the three of them stood on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. Joaquim pointed toward the horizon. The deepest trench near São Tomé begins out there. Eden folded his arms. My father came here often. Every week. Why? Because he believed someone was using underwater navigation beacons. Anna looked at him. That's impossible. It was impossible. Joaquim emphasized the word. 20 years ago. Anna's mind raced. The lighthouse wasn't guiding ships visually. No. It was synchronizing something. Joaquim smiled for the first time. Exactly. She turned toward the sea. If hidden transmitters were placed beneath the water, ships could navigate without lights. Without radar. Without attracting attention. Anna finished the thought herself. The lighthouse wasn't the guide. It was the timing signal. Every piece suddenly began fitting together. The dimming beam. The hidden software. The missing radar contacts. The carefully scheduled arrivals. Someone had transformed an ordinary lighthouse into the control tower for an invisible maritime highway. Eden stared silently across the ocean. My father figured it out. Yes. And they killed him. Joaquim looked away. I believe so. By sunset they were driving along the northern coastal road in Joaquim's battered pickup truck. Anna couldn't stop thinking. If this network has operated for 20 years, it has made someone unimaginably wealthy, Eden replied. And unimaginably dangerous. The truck rounded a bend overlooking the sea. Joaquim slowed suddenly. There. A black SUV stood parked beside the road. Its doors were open. No one was visible. Eden immediately reached beneath the dashboard and produced an old revolver. You keep weapons in every vehicle? I borrowed this truck. Joaquim sighed. I was wondering where that had gone. They stepped out cautiously. The evening air had become unnaturally still. Anna noticed it first. No birds. Eden nodded. No insects either. Someone had frightened the entire hillside into silence. A faint metallic click echoed behind them. They froze. 6 men emerged from the forest carrying assault rifles. Their leader stepped forward wearing an immaculate gray suit despite the muddy terrain. He smiled politely. Good evening. Eden recognized him instantly. Captain Soares. The governor sends his regards. Anna glanced around. The road behind them was blocked. The sea lay hundreds of meters below. There was nowhere left to run. Captain Soares looked directly at Anna. I'll ask only once. His voice remained calm. Where is the chart? Before anyone answered, another voice echoed across the cliff. She's not carrying it. Everyone turned. A black helicopter settled onto a nearby clearing, sending grass and dust spiraling into the air. Its door opened. A tall man stepped out wearing a simple white linen shirt instead of a uniform. He carried no visible weapon. Yet every armed man immediately straightened. Even Captain Soares lowered his head slightly. The newcomer studied Eden for a long moment. Then he looked at Anna. His expression revealed neither warmth nor hostility. Only disappointment. "So," he said quietly. "We finally meet." Anna recognized him at once. She had seen his face on every government building in the capital. Governor Mateus Barreto himself had come to the cliff. And judging by the silence surrounding him, he had never intended to let any of them leave alive. Governor Mateus Barreto walked forward until he stood between Captain Soares and the three fugitives, his linen shirt fluttering gently in the sea breeze. He carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man accustomed to obedience. There was no need to raise his voice. Everyone around him seemed to do that for him. "I've spent 3 days trying to understand why an engineer and a lighthouse keeper have become the most wanted people on my island," he said. "Now I realize the answer is much simpler." His eyes settled on Anna. "You asked the wrong questions." Anna met his gaze without lowering her own. "And your men tried very hard to stop me." A faint smile crossed the governor's face. "I admire courage. I simply dislike inconvenience." Captain Soares stepped forward. "Sir, the chart." The governor raised a single finger. "Patience." He looked toward Joaquim. "You've lived long enough to know when history is changing." The elderly cartographer remained silent. "I assume," the governor continued, "that you've already shown them the route." "I showed them the truth." "The truth is rarely profitable." "No," Joaquim replied quietly. "Only useful." The governor sighed, almost disappointed. "That has always been your weakness." Without warning, he nodded toward Captain Soares. The captain drew his pistol. Eden moved instinctively, but he was too far away. The shot echoed across the cliffs. Joaquim staggered backwards. For a heartbeat no one moved. Then the old cartographer collapsed onto the grass. Anna dropped beside him. Blood spread rapidly across his shirt. Joaquim caught her wrist with surprising strength. "The chart." His breathing became ragged. "Isn't." He struggled for another breath. "The secret." His hand fell away. Eden closed his eyes. The governor turned as calmly as though a meeting had concluded. "Search them." The soldiers advanced. At that exact moment, the first thunderclap rolled across the Atlantic. Every head turned toward the horizon. A wall of black cloud was racing toward the island. Rain arrived within minutes. Not gentle rain. A tropical downpour so dense it swallowed the coastline in a curtain of water. Visibility collapsed. Captain Soares barked orders that disappeared beneath the roar of the storm. Eden seized the opportunity. He threw himself into the nearest soldier, sending both men crashing down the muddy slope. Anna grabbed Joaquim's satchel. The governor's security team opened fire. Bullets tore through leaves and volcanic rock. Eden shouted over the storm. "The trees!" They ran. The rainforest exploded with sound as rain hammered the canopy above them. Mud clung to their boots while branches whipped across their faces. Behind them, flashlights darted through the darkness. Captain Soares was organizing the pursuit. "Heads up!" Eden shouted. A fallen tree blocked the narrow trail. Anna scrambled over it. The ground vanished beneath her. She slid down a steep embankment, grabbing roots and vines as loose earth collapsed around her. Eden reached her seconds later. "You hurt?" "No." She looked around. "I think." She brushed mud from an old stone wall. "We found something." The ruins emerged gradually beneath decades of vegetation. Stone arches. Collapsed buildings. A narrow staircase descending into darkness. Anna knelt beside a weathered inscription carved into volcanic rock. "This isn't Portuguese." Eden wiped moss away with his sleeve. "It predates the plantation era." The entrance had been deliberately concealed by roots and fallen trees. Rainwater flowed down the ancient steps into the earth below. Anna switched on her headlamp. "You think this connects to the lighthouse?" "I don't know." She looked back toward the forest. Gunfire echoed somewhere above. "I do know I'd rather be underground than out here." They descended. The staircase opened into a long stone tunnel. The air grew cooler. Drops of water echoed from somewhere ahead. Then Anna stopped. Embedded in the wall beside her was a steel conduit. Modern. She traced it with her fingers. "It doesn't belong here." Eden followed the cable with his flashlight. It disappeared deeper into the tunnel. They hid modern infrastructure inside ancient ruins. Anna smiled despite the danger. "That's actually brilliant." They followed the conduit for nearly 200 meters until the tunnel widened unexpectedly. Both of them stopped. The cavern before them was enormous. Its ceiling disappeared into darkness. In the center stood a modern control station surrounded by generators, communications equipment and rows of blinking servers. Thick fiber optic cables disappeared into the rock before continuing beneath the sea. Anna stared in disbelief. "This," she searched for words, "isn't a smuggling base." "No. It's a command center." Large digital maps covered one wall. Every vessel moving through the Gulf of Guinea appeared as glowing symbols. Some were marked in green, others in blue. Several were red. Eden stepped closer. Those red ships. Anna zoomed in. They don't exist. What? They've been erased from public tracking systems. She opened another screen. Encrypted schedules filled the display. Dates. Coordinates. Identification numbers. Payments. Then one line froze her completely. Operation Horizon. Next transit, tonight. 0:30 hours. She checked her watch. 11:42 p.m. We have less than an hour. A voice echoed through the cavern. I'm impressed. The lights brightened. Governor Barreto emerged from an elevated walkway overlooking the control room. He applauded slowly. I always wondered who would eventually find this place. Captain Soares and 8 armed guards spread out across the upper platform. The governor rested his hands on the railing. You've misunderstood everything. Anna looked up. Then explain it. I will. His expression remained composed. The ships you believe are criminal. He paused deliberately. Have prevented a war. Silence settled over the cavern. Eden frowned. What are you talking about? For 20 years, the governor said, certain cargoes have crossed these waters without attracting international attention. If they had not, he looked toward the giant map. 3 governments would have collapsed. Anna shook her head. You're transporting weapons. I'm preventing them from being intercepted by people who would use them against civilians. You expect us to believe that? I don't expect belief. His eyes hardened. I expect understanding. He pressed a button on the railing. The largest screen in the cavern changed. Instead of ships, photographs appeared. Anna's breath caught. One image showed her younger brother stepping out of a university building in Lisbon. Another showed Eden's younger sister leaving a hospital. Then more photographs. Different dates. Different countries. Always the same message. The governor smiled sadly. You've both spent years believing you still had families. Eden gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles turned white. What have you done? I've kept them alive. The words echoed through the cavern. Then the governor spoke the sentence neither of them had expected. And unless you help me tonight, that arrangement will end. The governor's words lingered in the cavern long after the echo had faded. Anna stared at the photographs on the screen, struggling to reconcile the smiling face of her younger brother with the man standing above her. Miguel had stopped replying to her messages nearly 3 years earlier. The Portuguese police had investigated his disappearance for 6 months before quietly closing the file. Every official report concluded there was no evidence of foul play. Now she knew why. He had never disappeared. Someone had simply made sure no one could find him. Eden looked no less shaken. His younger sister, Sophia, had supposedly died in a climbing accident on Madeira 5 years earlier. He had buried an empty coffin because the authorities claimed the sea had never returned her body. You expect gratitude? Eden asked quietly. No, Governor Barreto replied. Only perspective. Anna's voice was steady. You kidnapped them. I protected them. You imprisoned them. I kept them beyond the reach of people far more dangerous than me. Captain Soares shifted impatiently. Sir, Operation Horizon begins in 40 minutes. I know. The governor looked back at Anna. You've seen enough of this system to understand what happens if it fails tonight. She remained silent. The vessels approaching São Tomé are carrying more than cargo. What are they carrying? If I answer that, you'll stop listening and start judging. You've given us plenty to judge already. For the first time, irritation crossed the governor's face. Everything you've discovered has led you to one conclusion because it's the simplest one. And the alternative? He looked directly at Eden. Your father reached it before he died. The governor dismissed the guards with a brief gesture. Captain Soares hesitated. Sir, wait outside. Reluctantly, the security team withdrew from the control room, leaving only the governor, Anna, and Eden. The enormous digital map continued updating silently behind them. You've spent the last 2 decades believing this network exists to hide ships, the governor said. It does. No. He enlarged the map. Dozens of glowing routes appeared across the Gulf of Guinea. Some stretched toward West Africa. Others curved south. Several disappeared far into the Atlantic. These aren't shipping lanes. They're evacuation routes. Anna frowned. For whom? The governor touched another icon. Hundreds of encrypted records appeared. Families. Children. Witnesses. Journalists. Aid workers. Intelligence assets. People whose names had never appeared in newspapers because someone had erased them before anyone knew they existed. Eden stepped closer. This is everyone, the governor finished. For 20 years governments have quietly moved endangered people through these waters. Anna looked unconvinced. And the weapons? The governor sighed. Protection. She laughed bitterly. That's convenient. I expected that reaction. He opened another file. Photographs replaced the maps. Entire villages burned. Mass graves. Children rescued from conflict zones. Medical teams boarding unmarked vessels in darkness. Every image carried official classifications from multiple countries. Anna recognized several agency logos. None should have existed together. If these are genuine, they are. Why hide everything? Because public operations become political operations. The room fell silent again. Edan finally spoke. So why kill my father? The governor didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward the ceiling. I didn't. The sentence landed like another gunshot. Edan stepped forward. You expect me to believe that? I expected your father to join us. What? He discovered the beacon network. And? He realized why it existed. Anna watched the governor carefully. There was something different now. Not deception. Regret. He agreed to help redesign it. Edan frowned. You're lying. I wish I were. The governor reached into his jacket. Captain Soares immediately appeared in the doorway, alarmed. It's fine. The governor withdrew a weathered notebook. I've carried this for 22 years. He handed it to Edan. The handwriting on the first page was unmistakable. His father's. Edan slowly turned the pages. Technical sketches. Calculations. Navigation algorithms. Margins filled with observations. Then a paragraph written only days before his death. If anything happens to me, it will not be because of the governor. Someone inside the project has already begun selling routes to criminal buyers. The beacon network is being stolen from within. Edan stopped breathing. The final page contained a single name. Not Governor Barreto. Captain Soares. Every eye in the cavern turned toward the doorway. Captain Soares didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. I wondered when you'd finally read the last page. The governor slowly turned. So? Captain Soares nodded. You should have burned the notebook. The governor's expression hardened. I trusted you. You trusted everyone. Captain Soares drew his pistol. So did your father, he said to Edan. It was his final mistake. The cavern erupted. Captain Soares fired twice. The governor shoved Anna sideways as bullets shattered computer screens behind them. Emergency alarms screamed through the underground complex. Lights switched to red. Edan tackled Soares against the railing. Both men disappeared over the edge. Anna ran forward. They crashed onto the lower platform 6 meters below. Soares rolled first. His pistol slid across the floor. Edan lunged. The captain kicked him backwards before grabbing the weapon again. Then the cavern shook. Not from gunfire. From somewhere beneath the sea. The giant display flashed bright red. Beacon failure. Primary array offline. Autonomous mode activated. Anna rushed to the main console. What happened? The governor's face drained of color. They've started Horizon early. Who? Soares's people. Another alarm. This one louder. A live satellite image appeared automatically. Far offshore, 5 enormous cargo vessels had altered course simultaneously. Not away from São Tomé. Toward it. Anna zoomed in. Each ship was running completely dark. No lights. No identification. No transponders. Just as the first freighter had done outside the lighthouse. Except this time there weren't one. There were 5. The governor looked at Anna with absolute certainty. If those ships reached the harbor, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. She could already see smaller boats leaving their decks. Dozens of them. Heading toward the island. The first of the small boats crossed the outer reef just after midnight. From the command center, Anna watched them spread across the digital map like ink flowing through water. Each craft followed a different approach vector, perfectly synchronized, using the autonomous beacon system that Captain Soares had activated before escaping the upper platform. Governor Barreto stood beside her, studying the screens with grim concentration. If the beacon array stays online, he said, they'll reach every hidden landing site on the island within 30 minutes. Anna's fingers moved across the keyboard. I can shut down the network. No. She looked at him. If you simply switch everything off, every legitimate vessel still depending on the offshore guidance system becomes blind as well. Edan climbed back onto the upper platform, bruised and bleeding from the fight. Soares got away. The governor nodded once. He'll be heading to the lighthouse. Anna understood immediately. He wants the master controls. And if he reaches them first? He'll own the entire network. The storm returned with astonishing speed. Rain lashed the cliffs as the three of them raced toward the lighthouse in Joaquim's battered pickup, tires throwing mud across the narrow coastal road. Far offshore, flashes of lightning briefly revealed the silhouettes of the 5 cargo ships waiting beyond the horizon. They're not coming ashore, Anna realized. The governor glanced at her. No. They're waiting for confirmation. Exactly. She finally understood Operation Horizon. The cargo ships had never been the attack. They were the distraction. The smaller boats carried the real objective. People. Equipment. Documents. Everything needed to seize the island's navigation network permanently. Edan gripped the dashboard. They don't want São Tomé. They want control of every route passing through the Gulf of Guinea. The lighthouse emerged from the rain like a ghost. Its great beam continued turning across the Atlantic, but something had changed. Instead of a steady white light, it pulsed. Slowly. Deliberately. Anna stared upward. That's a coded transmission. The governor accelerated. Soars has already started. Their truck skidded into the courtyard. The outer gate stood open. 2 security vehicles burned beside the entrance. The governor stopped abruptly. My men. No bodies. Only abandoned weapons. Edan pushed open the heavy lighthouse door. The lower level had been destroyed. Broken consoles. Shattered glass. Bullet holes across the stone walls. The spiral staircase echoed with distant footsteps. There above us. Captain Soars stood alone in the lantern room. The rotating lens bathed him alternately in darkness and brilliant white light as he calmly entered commands into the master control console. He never looked around. I knew you'd come. Anna stepped forward. Step away from the controls. I'm afraid I can't. Edan raised the revolver. It's over. Soars smiled. No. He pressed one final key. Outside, the lighthouse beam stopped rotating. For the first time in more than a century. The light pointed in a single direction. Straight toward the waiting fleet. Every alarm inside the tower erupted simultaneously. Anna looked at the console. He locked the beacon. Correct. Can you unlock it? I already deleted the override. The governor walked slowly toward him. You murdered innocent people. I removed obstacles. You murdered Edan's father. So did your trust. Edan's hands trembled. You destroyed my family. No. Soars answered calmly. I built an empire. Then he smiled at Anna. And now you'll help me keep it. He pressed a small remote hidden in his palm. A timer appeared on the control screen. Explosive charges armed. 5 o'clock. Anna looked around instinctively. Where? The foundations. Edan swore under his breath. If the lighthouse falls, the beacon network dies forever. The governor's expression darkened. And every vessel in these waters loses navigation. The countdown slipped below 4 minutes. Anna ignored the panic rising around her. She wasn't looking at the timer. She was looking at the lighthouse lens. Then at the control software. Then back at the lens. Suddenly she smiled. Edan stared at her. Why are you smiling? Because he made one mistake. Captain Soars frowned for the first time. The lighthouse doesn't control the beacon array. Silence. It never has. Anna began typing furiously. It only provides synchronization. The governor understood instantly. The underwater transmitters. She nodded. They're still waiting for a timing reference. She disconnected the main fiber connection. The lighthouse beam died. Outside, darkness swallowed the cliffs. Captain Soars laughed. You've done exactly what I wanted. Anna shook her head. No. She connected her field tablet directly into the backup transmitter hidden beneath the maintenance console. My tablet has a precision clock. The governor's eyes widened. You can replace the lighthouse. Only for a few minutes. She uploaded a new timing sequence. The underwater network responded immediately. On the display, every beacon switched from red to blue. Far offshore the approaching boat slowed. Then stopped. Moments later they began turning away from the island. Confusion spread across the command channels. The 5 cargo ships altered course. One by one. They disappeared back into the Atlantic. Captain Soars lunged. Edan met him halfway. The 2 men crashed into the rotating lens assembly. Glass exploded across the lantern room. The revolver skidded across the floor. Soars reached it first. He turned toward Anna. The governor stepped between them. The shot echoed through the tower. Governor Barreto staggered backwards. Edan drove Soars into the shattered window. For one suspended heartbeat both men balanced on the edge above the crashing sea. Then Captain Soars lost his footing. He disappeared into the darkness below. The Atlantic claimed him without another sound. The timer reached 23 seconds. Anna finally located the demolition controls. Found them. She entered the shutdown code. Nothing happened. He's locked it. The governor, struggling to remain standing, smiled faintly. Second panel. What? The builders always installed. He coughed. A mechanical override. Eden ripped open an old brass access plate beneath the stairs. Inside sat a single rusted lever. He pulled it. The countdown froze. 007. Silence settled over the lighthouse. Only the rain remained. 3 months later the lighthouse stood exactly where it always had, overlooking an Atlantic that seemed incapable of remembering violence. The underground network had been dismantled under international supervision. Every hidden beacon was documented. Every surviving record was turned over to independent investigators. Much of what Governor Barreto had revealed proved true. Much of it also proved deeply compromised by men like Captain Soares, who had quietly transformed a humanitarian system into a criminal enterprise over 2 decades. Governor Barreto survived his injuries long enough to testify publicly before stepping away from office. History would spend years deciding whether he had been a hero who kept terrible secrets or a leader who had hidden too much for too long. Eden accepted responsibility for restoring the lighthouse, this time with every system open to public oversight. Anna declined several prestigious offers overseas. Instead, she remained on São Tomé to design a new maritime safety network that answered to no single government and no single individual. One quiet evening she climbed to the lighthouse gallery. The lamp swept slowly across the Atlantic. This time, the beam never dimmed. Eden joined her at the window. Still checking every ship? She smiled without looking away. Only the honest ones. He laughed. The sea answered with the steady rhythm of waves breaking against the volcanic cliffs below. For the first time in many years, the light told the truth.
Thank you for listening. Tell me, which African country would you like the next Mafia story to be based in and why? Drop your answers in the comments and I will take it from there. If you enjoyed the story, like, share, subscribe. Because somewhere in Africa, another story is already unfolding.